Good morning. Saying good morning. Saying good morning. Good morning, good morning. Alright. Picking up where we left off. I hope everybody had a good weekend, by the way. I'm sure it was fantastic and restful. And we are going to get right back into part 2 of Job. Again, this is very, heavy conversations that we are witnessing between Job and his 3 friends. We'll go into a little bit more of this here with a quote. And it starts with Francis Bacon, of course. Okay, suspicions amongst thoughts are like bats amongst birds. They ever fly by twilight. Alright, you ever have, a good day, it was a good day, nothing to be so stressed or concerning about, and then by the time that evening, night rolls around, twilight, right, you start to get your little energies and, you're trying to think of how to best improve on your next day or what really bothered you the day before or what have you. These are your suspicions, okay? They are somewhat rooted in fantasy, just like bats. Bats themselves, we know they exist in the sense that, they're real things and they're alive, but we only really see them in, media. When something is, spooky or scary, we see these bats. They're associated with the night. They're associated with the vampires. But they are a real thing, okay? I've actually seen a few bats here in my day, but they're often rooted in this fantasy, just like our suspicions, okay? They're very often rooted in fantasy, despite the fact that the things that we stress about, the things that we worry about are real things that may happen or maybe we've experienced before. And nonetheless, the suspicion that comes to you at the night and tries to keep you awake and tries to bother you is just that what it is, right? It's suspicion. It's not something that's rooted in reality or rooted in fact, in the sense that you need to be stressed or you need to be worrying about this right now. So as we were discussing, Job is being attacked by the devil, okay? The Lord is allowing Job to be attacked by the devil despite him being a good person, because he knows how strong and how loyal and how willing he is to stick by God's side no matter what. But at this part in the narrative, Job just wants to give up. He thinks he's being punished. He thinks he's doing something wrong. And what does that sound like? That sounds like that suspicion, that thing that is rooted in fantasy, that is bothering him and keeping him up and keeping him in distress. So, with that in mind, we seek purity and we seek love. Let's go ahead and go into this Job part 2. It says here, then Job replied, does a wild donkey bray when it has grass? Does a wild donkey bray when it has grass, or an ox bellow when it has fodder? Is tasteless food even eaten without salt, or is there flavor in the sap of the mallow? I refuse to touch it. Such food makes me ill. So he's having a loss for the salt of life. He is mourning the salt of life. He is missing his family, his riches, his camaraderie that he experienced, his good times. Do we ever reflect on that sometimes? I know I certainly am. Just the good times that we used to have, the jolly good times, the fun, the partying, the food, just not a care, right? It's not a care, just enjoying life. All right, he's missing this right now. He's having a seeking moment, saying, what is life even without all these pleasures that we do enjoy, right? He's saying, if I had these things, right? If I had the food and the family and the parties, I would not be sad. I would not be crying, I would not feel this depression. So, relatable, I guess, right? Anyways, anyone who withholds kind, and then he continues, all right, Job continues, anyone who withholds kindness from a friend forsakes the fear of the Almighty, but my brothers are as undependable as intermittent streams, as the streams that overflow when darkened by thawing ice and swollen melting snow, but that stop flowing in the dry season, and in the heat vanish from their channels. So, and then I'll just finish this off. You would even cast lots for the fatherless and barter away your friend. Remember, O God, that my life is but a breath, and my eyes will never see happiness again. So now he's coming at his friends that are actually sticking by him, giving him advice, walking him through and being with him in his sorrow. He's cursing them in a way. I would say, he's saying, as much as you are trying to represent and be here with me, I know that you're just going to leave me eventually. You might as well get it over with. Sorry, but my brothers are undependable as intermittent streams. So he's talking about the overflowing streams, and then when the stream is needed in the heat of the day, or in the summer, right? In the summer when the water is needed, it dries up. Where are they now? So she's kind of just like coercing them almost into saying, no, of course not. That's not the case. Because it's true that the friends are there. Sorry, my hair just flew out. The friends are there. They're there. They're not anywhere else but being with Job and walking him and talking him through this dark period of his life. So they're there. And nonetheless, right, he's having these suspicions that they're going to leave him because he has no money, he has no riches anymore. The suspicion is creeping in. All right, remember, my God, my life is but a breath. So he's longing for the times, he's missing his happiness. He says, what is mankind that you make so much of them, that you give them so much attention, that you examine them every morning and test them at every moment? So he's asking these big questions now to God directly. What is the point? What is the point of all this? Then we have Bildad, the Shuhite, replying to Job. And he says, your beginnings will seem humble, so prosperous will your future be. Such is the destiny of all who forget God, so perishes the hope of the godless. They are like a well-watered plant in the sunshine, spreading its shoots over the gardens. It entwines the roots around a pile of rocks and looks for a place among the stones. But when it is torn from its spot, that place disowns it and says, I never saw you. Surely it withers away from the soil, and other plants grow. And from the soil other plants grow. So notice how Bildad constructs his response. Honestly, I think in the version, let me take a closer look here. I don't want to grab my book, but he either confronts what Job was saying about them, about saying how, they're undependent or what have you. He either confronts it or he ignores it completely. I have to go look in a second. You can go look on your own as well. But he kind of just skirts around that, and he's getting to the root issue. Okay, he's getting to the root issue, and he's offering hope and a solution that is invisible to Job. So he's rooting around his suspicions, and he's saying here, because you made this point, right, that you're asking God, you're not forgetting God, you're still communicating and still reaching out to God, you will not be lost and you will not be forgotten. Okay, it's going to seem very difficult right now, but very, very prosperous will the future be. I'll just say exactly as he said it. But because Job is not forgetting God, he's questioning God, yes. He's asking of him to take his life. Yes, he's asking of him to make him feel all better if he has it in him, God, right? But he's at least consulting and remembering God. So he's saying, if this was different, right? If the situation was different and you did not consult and you did not remember God, then you will be lost and forgotten, right? The place will disown you. Sorry, he has stuff on his nose. He would say, the place would disown you. I never saw you, and wither away, and from the soil other plants grow. So he's saying, you will not be replaced. Those who forget God will be replaced. Because you remember God, you will not be replaced. And then Job replies, indeed, I know that this is true, but how can mere mortals prove their innocence before God? He speaks to the sun, and it does not shine. He seals off light from the stars. He would crush me with a storm and multiply my wounds for no reason. If I say, I will forget my complaint, I will change my expression and smile, I still dread my sufferings, for I know you will not hold me innocent. Do you have eyes of flesh? Do you see as the mortal sees? Though you know I am not guilty, and that no one can rescue me from your hand, you bring a new witness against me and increase your anger towards me. Your forces come against me, wave upon wave. Okay, so he's having these suspicions, right? They're not rooted in reality. We know, and I'm sure as Job knows, that Allah sees everything. He is the best of judge. He may as well have eyes of flesh to see, because he can see things out of his eyes, out of my own eyes. He can look from every perspective, every angle, and see and witness things with you. Okay, he's ever present. I keep wanting to say effervescent, that too, but he's ever present. And he's worried. He thinks that God is, again, the suspicion, he thinks that God is smiting him, judging him, punishing him. That's not at all the case. It seems like that way. It's very hard to maybe help Job to understand that it's not all over. But this is just how he's feeling, right? It's the emotions, it's the suspicions that are coming in. He really does think, despite him being a very upright and just and moral person, he really does think that he did something wrong, when that is not the case. So, right, it's a test, a larger test, as we know. So he's wanting to seem innocent in the Lord's eyes, and he wants to be saved and just eased of his sufferings. Lastly, then Zophar the Nemathite replied, can you fathom the mysteries of God? Can you probe the limits of the Almighty? Life will be brighter than noonday, and the darkness will become like morning. So I know if I was Job, I would be like, how do you know? Can you probe the darkness, or can you probe the Almighty? Oh gosh, the limits of the Almighty. I'm trying to find the words. Can you fathom the mysteries of God? Can you probe the limits of the Almighty? How do you know? Sometimes that outside perspective, like we mentioned, right? Even his friends, not even, God is not responding in this, but you can tell that he's talking through his friends clearly, okay? You can tell, what was I going with this? I'm sorry. He's talking through, where was I going? My thought just completely disappeared. Life will be brighter than noonday, and darkness will be like morning. Oh yeah, perspective. All right, the perspective that Zophar the Nemathite has, all right, it's broader than when you're in Job and feeling his suffering. I'm not explaining that the right way, but he has just a different perspective, right? He's seeking that other perspective, and they're giving it to him. And Zophar is really saying, like, listen, you're not in a place to make these decisions and to be judging your situation, to be feeling the situation the way you're feeling. I understand, but don't keep speaking the negativity. Don't keep, dissing us and, cursing God in a way. This is kind of what he's doing, just, in my opinion, this is what it's sounding like. Don't be cursing God. I know you're going through a hard time, but you really just don't know, and you don't see things from the way that either we might see things, or you don't understand the plan that God has. So God is giving these three friends really the insight that, everything is going to be fine. All right, it's very temporary. Even though it seems like it's the end of the world, it's not the end of the world. It's very temporary. So far it's just re-encouraging him. But being in Joe's position, I know we've all had pitfalls and, trying times where it feels like we want to give up. And in this situation, we have to empathize with Job, because not many people I know experience something to this level, to this degree of loss, true hard loss. There have been people that I'm familiar with that dealt with similar things, but this was very Old Testament destruction, okay? Very scary, very traumatizing. So we have to empathize and sympathize with Job, just as his friends are doing during this time, and they're doing a good job, right? They're just saying, listen, ignore all that, focus on the light, focus on the bright. All right, all that stuff, as important as it was to you, it truly does not matter. What matters is your own soul and your own purity and your own love and your own heart, and what that can produce for you, what that can manifest for you. So they're trying to get him to, kind of forget the things of the past, even though it would seemingly be impossible. But yeah, it's a tricky situation, because it's not any light issue that came about Job. This was very serious. So his friends are doing the best that they can to reassure and to be supportive, which is very, very important. So God bless you guys. That's all I'm going to mention on this one. And have a beautiful and wonderful day. What time is it for me? It's 8:30. Nice. We got done nice and early. Goodbye. Thanks for listening. Come on, sis. Thank you. He's sleeping. Sleeping with your dirty nose. Okay. Bye, guys.